Good evening. Wow. The news today was just, it was sometimes a little challenging to keep up with, especially considering a lot of times, I will look into something a little bit. I won't just take it, just right off the surface. Wow. There are a lot of things to look at today. So the show, I said, is, get those loose ends tied up. And it's not just, it's not just the prospect of a war. There are other things going on as well that are pretty shocking, to be honest. And it involves a war within. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about, obviously, what seems to be upcoming conflict, and, parts that led up to where we are now, that just happened, or at least came out today. I'm telling you, it's moving pretty quickly, I think. I think there is a lot more movement behind the scenes than what we're hearing about in front. And I think it was put pretty clear today by both sides where they stand. And that certainly isn't in the same mindset. So I think, I honestly think the U.S. is hell-bent on being involved in helping push NATO closer to Russia. And that is clearly Russia's red line. And, at the same time, NATO's red line is if they invade Ukraine. And I just think it's awful interesting how some of this stuff is playing out. We're going to get to that. Before I get started, I do want to pimp one thing real quick. Southern Prepper 1. So I would be shocked if you're subscribed to this channel and not subscribed to Southern Prepper 1. So if by chance you're not subscribed to Southern Prepper 1, I put a link to a video of his down in the description of the show today. I actually need to grab those links because I forgot to open up a couple of pages because you see how I am. Anyway, let me open those up. Let me try to do so and stop before we start here. Oh, that's pretty close. So, that ought to be good. And let me get this up. I'm sorry, I should have had this open. And it is what it is. I had a lot of stuff that I was sorting through before I went live. So shortly, right before I went live. So anyway, in the description of the video is two things. There's a link to Southern Prepper 1's video titled SP1's Emergency Survival Shelter Kit. And he goes over the components in this, in my opinion, awesome little kit. And my first thought was this is the perfect gift to get for that person that either just started prepping or haven't figured out yet that they're going to start prepping. You know what I mean? So I thought that this thing's incredible. Check it out. Complete 10-piece emergency shelter kit. And so he had shown, you can watch his video, he shows all the pieces, all the components. And this isn't that real cheap, crappy Mylar that like would tear when the wind blew. You can tell this is pretty thick mylar. This is well-made stuff. And again, it's not something that you're going to live out your days in prosperity after SHTF, but it could definitely save your life. Without a doubt, it could definitely save your life. Even beyond that, it just might help save your friend's life more than once. In other words, it might get them to thinking about prepping a little more, and at the same time, they may be able to utilize it to actually save their life. So anyway, $25. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, I did put my associate link also for this product in the description. From my understanding, Southern Prepper One must be involved in the creation of this, and absolutely remarkable job. So if I've got this correctly, if you use the link that I put in the description, you would actually be benefiting both of us. And I just have to be transparent that it is a Amazon affiliate link that I have in there. If you don't want to support us, there's a link in the video for Southern Prepper One, and you can click that link and completely support him in the purchase of this kit. So either way, I wanted to be completely open and transparent about it. But he made a video on this kit today, and I saw it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. For $25, this is an incredible Christmas gift idea. Like I say, to get somebody into prep, or to get somebody that just got into prepping, or to, get somebody started that don't know yet that they're going to be into prepping. Because I'll tell you what, the writing is certainly on the wall. So I wanted to show you that. And let me close those real quick. Those links are in the description. And, wow. I've got some craziness coming your way involving this whole pandemic stuff. So, again, it's not all about war. There is a lot of craziness to go around. So, of course, different places on this ball of dirt have different things going on involving this pandemic. And the interesting thing is not some, pretty much all the countries have very contrasting ideas on how they feel about the vaccine and COVID in general and lockdowns. And, well, this came out earlier. Let me bring you back over. Anti-vaxxers compared to Hitler. Now, if that isn't some backwards kind of stuff, I don't know what is. It says here, vaccine skeptics aren't simply expressing their opinions, but have a clear strategy to eradicate the population, a Russian official has said, as the rate of inoculation against COVID remains low in the world's largest country. Oh, yeah? I mean, this is mind-blowing, what some of these individuals are saying. And these people are quote-unquote officials, right? I mean, that's the astonishing thing to me. Because once again, when you look at the facts that we are actually given by folks like the CDC and FDA, all you have to do is actually look at the facts for yourself and not what other people are saying about those facts, because that's where it gets skewed. But if you look at the facts directly, it pretty much says it all. And so how or why individuals would be making statements like this and acting like individuals that choose not to get a vaccine are gonna wipe out everybody else. Now that's beyond being dramatic. That's beyond being hyperbolic. Anyway, so we've got that. Check this out. I've got a couple of crazy stories here. Man shot 2 dead after being told to wear a mask, says reports. This article here, a man who opened fire at a Russian municipal building. Now, mind you, the last article that I shared from you was based from Russia. Same country. A man who opened fire at a Russian municipal office, killing at least 2 people and injuring 4 others, is believed to have lashed out after being told to wear a face covering, local media outlets have reported. According to a police source for Business Daily RBK, 45-year-old veteran Sergei Glazov shot up a branch of MFC used by Russian citizens for processing official documents in the southeast of Moscow on Tuesday. Kommersant has since reported that the man took out a gun and began shooting after he was stopped by a security guard and asked to wear a face mask in line with the country's current COVID-19 rules. According to security forces, Glazov fired a gun modified to shoot live ammunition. Wait a minute. Modified to shoot live ammunition? Now, I admittingly don't know a whole lot about Russia. Why would I have to be modified in order to shoot? I don't know. Anyway, 2 people are understood to have lost their lives during the incident, which occurred at the Multifunctional Public Service Center in the Ryazansky, I'm sure I said that wrong, district. Let's see, and I lost my place. There we go. Around 12 kilometers from the city's Red Square. Speaking to reporters, Moscow's Deputy Mayor Anastasia Rakova said that the building's administrator and security guard had died in the incident. According to her, the man had come in to obtain a passport. The number of injured currently stands at 4 and includes an employee of the State Budgetary Institution for Housing and an employee of the administrative building, as well as 2 visitors, including a 10-year-old child, Rakova said. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin took to Twitter in the wake of the incident, writing, "I offer my condolences to the victims and the families of the victims," and said that doctors are doing their best to help the wounded. A law enforcement spokeswoman, Irina Volk, has confirmed that the detainee has been taken to the police department. So here you have an instance where individuals are at an official building just doing their own thing, and somebody gets agitated and opens fire all over face masks. So that's what I'm saying. You know, we all need to kind of step it up a notch when it comes to paying attention to our surroundings, just our general situational awareness at all times. It's likely to get really stupid at some point. Now, I'm not saying that everybody in every place has to look over their shoulder everywhere they go. I'm not like some YouTube channels out there that want you to walk in fear. But let's use common sense here. I mean, this could have been any other place. This could have been a Walmart. This could have been any other place. So this is a wild story here. And again, it all has to do with mandates and, you know what I mean? And it just, it makes no sense because it's at the point to where it's causing way more harm. Way more harm. And it makes no sense at this point. As you see in front of you, man kills family and self for fear of arrest over fake COVID pass. See how ridiculous this is? A suicide note left by a man in Germany who killed his wife and 3 kids before taking his own life claims he feared he'd be arrested and his children taken away over a falsified COVID-19 vaccination certificate, investigators say. Now, let me say that there's absolutely nothing, not a thing, that excuses what this man did. Not a thing. But I have to ask the question, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What was the stressor that put him over that edge? And I'm sure that this information isn't going to be provided to us, what's led up to this during the last 2 years? So, moving on Tuesday, German prosecutors revealed possible motives behind a chilling murder case that shocked Germany over the weekend. 5 bodies of family members with gunshot wounds were found in their house in the town of Königs, Wusterhausen, not far from Berlin. The 40-year-old father appears to have killed his own wife and 3 children aged 10, 8, and 4 before taking his own life, investigators said. The police found a firearm in the house, but it is currently unclear if it was used in the killings. According to the authorities, the man had left a suicide note in which he confessed to having obtained a forged COVID-19 vaccination certificate for his wife. He added that the wife's employer found out that it was fake. Allegedly, the couple began fearing that they would be arrested and their children would be taken from them, Chief Public Prosecutor Gernot Bantalon told the German press agency on Tuesday. The prosecutors have not revealed any further details about the case. So again, at what point do we say, okay, people have had enough? You know, the benefits don't outweigh the cost here. I don't know. It's ridiculous, but everybody pretty well seems hell bent on doubling down on all the nonsense. Absolutely mind blowing. Sorry, I gotta have just a little bit of coffee here. Oh, man. And a couple of vapes. Did I say that? A couple of vapes? No, didn't say it? Okay, well. Now you know. Maybe what I ought to do is just put vape juice in a fog machine and turn it on. Right? And I could just breathe and do the show and all would be well. Let's see. Okay. So, one of the things that came up today during the press briefing or whatever the hell you want to call it, you know, that those actors in that one place called Washington do. And so there was some cat up there on stage, and I can't remember his name now, and I actually had it on the title of one of the videos today. Anyway, Jake something. Hang on. Now I gotta know. Oh, and that was the wrong one. Anyway, you know who the hell I'm talking about. Well, one of the questions, about 18 minutes in, I believe it was, had asked about the concern or possibility of Russia invading Ukraine and simultaneously China invading Taiwan. And I'll tell you what, I was actually really shocked at some of the questions. When this administration started out, they really softballed absolutely everything. But I'll tell you what, here as of late, I have heard them pretty well grilling this administration. And today was no exception. And it was made apparent that, the U.S. government is a group of idiots. I don't have, I'm not in that position. Thankfully, I'm not in that position. Because I have no good answers other than be realistic with these people. I think taking the stance that Biden's taken right now is extremely dangerous. And again, I don't have any good answers. We are put in a bad spot. We are probably in the worst spot this nation's ever been in, ever. So I don't have any good answers. I can't say that I do, but I'm not surrounded by advisors that know every inch of every detail of the situation either. I don't know. That is a concern of mine, and I must say that's an increasing concern of mine, that both China and Russia will act simultaneously. I'm pretty certain they probably will, because it would just make sense. Even if they weren't conspiring together to do so, it would just make sense. And it would make sense for every nation that ever wanted to topple another nation to have their own little purge. You know? Can you imagine that? A purge on an international level? You know, we're all thinking just within the country. How about on an international level? You know, whoever just bomb the hell out of whoever, because there's nobody there going to stop it. I think we are in the worst situation ever for what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a military position. We have never been ever since we've been a country. We have never been so far behind technologically. Ever. Our military, in comparison to, well, about any other time in our history, is at a pretty weak point, both in membership and morale, and you name it. So yeah, there's a myriad of reasons why we're when it comes to this militarily, when it comes to being able to throw our weight around. I'm not saying we have absolutely no ability to defend ourselves. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I don't think right now we have a real good capability of going around and playing the world's police. And I think doing so is going to get us caught up in some pretty nasty positions. We just got out of a 20-year war in which we were ran out, tail tucked. There are still Americans over there right now. I don't think it's, the best position to be so anxious to go back into that. So, and I think actually not into that much worse, because you're not talking the Middle East at that point. I firmly believe that Putin has much more capability than ISIS or whoever is. So, but anyway, along that, I've got a couple things on China here. One of them, China seeks first naval base in Atlantic. Beijing intends to build its first ever naval outpost on the Atlantic Ocean, which would allow China to position its warships opposite the east coast of the U.S., a media report says. Beijing wants to set up a military base in Equatorial Guinea, a Western African country, I'll get it right, 28,000 square kilometers in size and with a population of 1.4 million. The Wall Street Journal said, quoting unnamed U.S. Officials with knowledge of classified intelligence reports. China is considering building a base in Bada, a city that already has a Chinese-built deep-water commercial port, the report said. The Wall Street Journal added that a naval station on the Atlantic could be used to rearm and refit Chinese warships, undoubtedly rattling Washington. The paper quoted a senior White House official as saying that the U.S. had warned Equatorial Guinea last year that certain potential steps involving Chinese activity there would raise national security concerns. China and Equatorial Guinea have not commented on the matter, but Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi held talks with his Equatorial Guinean counterpart, Simeon I can't say that. Oh my goodness, look at that word, or that name. In Dakar, Senegal, late last month. Wow, that's one heck of a name there. There's like 4 names in one there. I don't know that that's like 2 people or anything. Wow, I think that's one name. Let's see. Global Times, a Chinese state-run newspaper, argued on Monday that it would be inconceivable for Beijing to engage in a strategic great power game in the Atlantic, but China has made big investments in Africa and planned to fight piracy in the region. If China were to establish a naval supply station for this end, it would be different from what the U.S. has imagined. It will benefit the region without any harm, Global Times wrote in an editorial piece. So they are clearly trying to put out some more landing pads, so to speak, you know. The U.S., like I say, we're getting put in a position here because what can we do? Well, we just supposed to bomb them and say no? That probably isn't too bright of an idea right now. At the same time, if we forever sit back and do nothing, we're really going to be toast. So again, as for the perfect answers, I don't have them. Got this article from American Military News, and I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but it says China threatens Biden administration, U.S. will pay, wait and see. It says China threatened the United States on Tuesday over the Biden administration's diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Olympics in Beijing, warning that the U.S. will pay for its action. Sorry, I had like a hair on my face driving me crazy. Now, real quick, I want to interject that this isn't just the United States. There are other countries, too, that are boycotting the 2022 Olympics in Beijing. There are other nations. I think Australia had come out today. There are other nations that are boycotting, too. But the U.S. undoubtedly is taking the lead in this. So, but the impact isn't just the U.S., it's all these other nations too. Now, when I say impact, in reality, I don't think China much gives a damn. Why would they? But, you know, on the other hand, this is a slap in the face. China's nation, their culture, to disrespect them, to just openly, publicly disrespect them is a pretty big deal. So you got to understand the cultural differences as well in all of this. And this is a big diss. This is a big diss from a number of international, members. So what could come of this? It's really hard to say, but this definitely adds to the tensions that are going on. And that's the last thing we need. It's the last thing we need. I really think we're getting close. I have another sip here. One of the things that I think we're going to see is I think we're going to see a mass amount of weapons and equipment being absolutely pumped into the Ukraine. And as much as they can, they're going to try to claim that it's only for, them. It's not because we're going to put troops on the ground. It's for them. It's for the Ukrainian fighters, right? But I have a feeling that they're going to be pre-staging as much equipment as they can. And that way, last minute, they have to put troops in there. They've got not necessarily plenty of equipment, but at least enough equipment to get them started. This is something to, oh wow, that's crazy. Hang on, let me get this shared out. It just came out, and I want to make sure to include it before we get into all the other headlines. So definitely going to be including this. Keep it off to the side momentarily. No peeking. So anyway, that's essentially what I think is a lot of what's going on here. Now the U.S. and Ukraine, I think it was mentioned during the press conference today that they are talking daily. And, all the U.S. has to say is, you keep asking, we'll keep sending. You keep asking, we'll keep sending. Right? So, as it says here, Ukraine asked for weapons meant to fight the Taliban. It says Ukraine has requested a supply of American military equipment that was originally intended to go to Afghanistan before the American-backed government fell to the Taliban earlier this year. Minister of Defense Alexei Reznikov made the request during a visit to Washington last month, according to a report published in Foreign Policy magazine on Monday. He had flown to the U.S. to ask for assistance in a number of military matters, including support for air and naval defense, as well as electronic warfare. An unnamed Ukrainian defense official reportedly told Foreign Policy that Reznikov's list of requests featured American military equipment originally earmarked for Afghanistan before the Taliban took over. This is understood to include U.S.-owned Soviet-era Mi-17 helicopters undergoing maintenance in Ukraine and munitions meant for the Afghan army. Reznikov made the visit as reports began to spread that Ukrainian and American officials feared a possible Russian invasion of the Eastern European country in the near future. So, anyway, you get the gist of what that's saying. Among the myriad of reasons that tensions are escalating in countries, clearly, money is one of them. And with all these sanctions and all of that are being threatened on Russia, my question is there a point in which Russia just says the hell with it? If we're going to get all this held against us, if we're going to get all these things done against us when we haven't even done anything, are they going to jump? Who knows? Who knows? All I do know, one moment. All I do know is that economically, I don't think Russia's that concerned because they have other avenues. So, I mean, if you cut Russia off SWIFT, you're not completely cutting them off. There's nothing they can do. That's not the case. But it does create a huge hassle, and it does make for a big pain in the butt. Again, how long is Russia going to just ignore it and just let things go as they are? I don't think real long. Right here, it says the Russian ruble is trading steady against the U.S. dollar on Tuesday despite threats of U.S. sanctions targeting Russia's financial system and potentially being cut off from SWIFT if a military conflict with Ukraine reignites. The ruble strengthened to 73.98 against the greenback, while the euro declined to 83.53 rubles. Russian stock markets also shrugged off the latest threats from Washington as the benchmark MOEX Russia index rose 0.97% to 3,846.85 at 11:13 GMT, following a decline of 2.6% on Monday. So the reason I'm pointing this out is because one of the types of warfare, obviously, that's been going on for some time now is economic warfare. And our methods and means aren't really having that much of an effect anymore. And so that's an important thing to note. When they have positioned themselves, and I'm meaning Russia, to where our sanctions and our actions in general aren't really harming them that bad, then it's only a matter of time until the United States is going to escalate to a different level. And I think that's pretty much where we're at. Okay, that's pretty much what I had for discussing war. Let me go ahead and bring this one in and do it right away, because this is like pretty mind-blowing here. This just came out a while ago. This is what I was sharing out. TV show deletes poll after 89% oppose mandatory vaccination. Huh. So let's see what it says here. ITV breakfast television show Good Morning Britain received backlash on social media after deleting a poll which showed a vast majority of respondents opposed mandatory COVID-19 vaccination. The poll, which asked viewers whether it was time to make vaccines mandatory in response to the spread of COVID-19 Omicron variant, was posted to Twitter on Tuesday and soon received more than 42,000 votes. Okay, so it's not like it just had 1,000 votes. A whopping 89% of those who voted opposed any scheme to make vaccination mandatory, with just 11% in favor. After the poll went viral, however, social media users noticed that it had been deleted by the Good Morning Britain Twitter account, and critics accused the program of trying to cover up the public consensus. Why did you delete this poll? Is it because you were asked, or is it because it shows the people don't support this shit? This tyrannical future of your colleagues seem to want. We see you, reacted one critic, while another suggested, guess that wasn't the answer they were looking for. Good Morning Britain, which was hosted by controversial commentator Piers Morgan before his departure in March, did not explain why it removed the poll. And you know, that makes me kind of wonder. I haven't seen a whole lot of polls here in the U.S. Out on this, especially by like news agencies and stuff. I wonder why. Interesting. It's interesting. Next up, this is just stupid, insane. Catholic Church sexual abuse must be seen in historical context, the Pope says. Listen to this. Oh my goodness. Pope Francis has called for caution in the interpretation of a damning report released in October that found as many as 330,000 children may have been sexually abused by clergy and lay members of the Catholic Church in France. Listen to this. The pontiff said on Monday that the historical situation must be framed in context when conducting studies that explore incidents dating back decades. The inquiry behind the report, the Independent Commission on Sexual Abuse in the Church, examined allegations of sexual abuse of minors in the Catholic Church in France from the 1950s to 2020. Now I'm gonna read one more paragraph and then I'll comment. Noting that studies must be attentive to the interpretation people will make of it, the Pope said that historical abuse must be viewed according to the standards of the time. He gave as an example that the attitude of the Church to cases of abuse was to cover it up, but acknowledged that this was an attitude that unfortunately still exists today in a large number of families. And then down here, it says abuse 100 years ago, 70 years ago, was brutality, but the way it was experienced is not the same as today. Are you getting what they're saying there? What he's saying there? Okay, so let's back up. This is from the 1950s to 2020. Okay, these 330,000 children. All right? And what he's essentially saying is, hold up. Because society and culture was different back then. What? Again, I'll repeat, we're talking about from the 1950s to 2020. We're not talking some 1700 stuff, which wouldn't have been okay. I'm just saying, yes, cultures have changed. But in the 50s, I'm sorry, but this stuff was not acceptable in the 50s. Just wasn't. Just wasn't. Well, unless you were the Catholic Church. That's obviously a different story. But I digress, right? It came from him. You know, and this is why. This is why I'm very hesitant anytime, whether it be a YouTube creator, whether it be anything. These individuals that come out against trafficking, human trafficking, and they're doing this, and they're doing that, and they're doing the other thing. Knock it off. Tell me when you're interested in doing something to put a stop to it before it happens. Because we're understanding where it's happening from. We're understanding the different organizations that are feeding these kids into this lifestyle, this system, this hell. You let me know when you want to put a stop to it happening and quit effing trying to profiteer off of it. Because it's disgusting. And I see right through it. Right through it. My apologies. But just as the Catholic Church needs to be set down, so do others that love to profiteer off such tragic thing. We need to focus on putting a stop to it. Again, we know where clear, evident problems of it is. We just got to get off our asses and get the balls to do something to put a stop to it. Plain and simple. It makes no sense to me to focus on the aftermath when we should be focused on preventing it. Anyway, Facebook sued for $150 billion. Check this out. Facebook has been sued over the role it played in a hate speech campaign that led to the violent persecution of the Rohingya, a Muslim minority group in Myanmar. The plaintiffs are demanding it pay $150 billion in damages. The social media giant began operating in Myanmar back in 2011. It had been aware for years that posts targeting the Rohingya, including those ordering hits by the Myanmar government, had been spreading wildly. A class action lawsuit filed on Monday in California said, citing an unnamed Facebook employee turned whistleblower. The network's operations in Myanmar materially contributed to the development and widespread dissemination of anti-Rohingya hate speech that eventually turned into a substantial cause of the Rohingya genocide, the document, which has since been published online, states. Some 10,000 Rohingyas were killed during a military crackdown in Myanmar in 2017, according to the international medical charity Doctors Without Borders. More than 700,000 people, over half of the Rohingya population in the country, fled to neighboring Bangladesh in the wake of the crackdown. According to the UN, its officials described Myanmar's actions as ethnic cleansing and said a charge of genocide cannot be ruled out. So I'm not going to read the rest of it. I mean, this is pretty crazy here. Absolutely crazy. Again, we know where problems are. We just got to fix it. Got to use our heads, too, in doing so. As if you didn't know this was coming, right? Most children's classic books are sexist and racist, says a study. I mean, they are literally doing every single thing that they can to destroy absolutely everything that made people people. Anyway, here it says, the majority of popular children's books should be removed from shelves as they are outdated, sexist, racist, and written from a white male perspective, a new study suggests. The world represented in children's books reflects predominantly middle-class, heterosexual male heroes and characters, reads the report of Dr. Helen Adam and Laurie Harper from the Edith Cowan University in Western Australia. According to the research published recently in the Australian Educational Researcher, 90% of the books read in Australian and U.S. daycare centers promoted traditional, binary, and stereotypical viewpoints of gender and gender roles, something that Adam and Harper describe as concerning. Well, how would Adam and Eve describe it? That's what I would like to know. The authors of the study claim that, for example, illustrations in Harry the Dirty Dog show bias towards male representation and stereotypes of men, while the very idea of promoting gender-neutral or inclusive occupational opportunities in a book called I Want to Be a Police Officer is compromised, that's actually what it says, is compromised with males outnumbering females 15-3. Okay. Dr. Adam has consistently exposed the negative impact of traditional literature and films on children's development. In her earlier studies, she criticized Dr. Seuss books for portraying minority cultures in stereotypical or exotic ways and often in subservient roles to white characters. You know, again, all of this stuff that's just meant to divide. I don't think any one of us as children read Snow White or listened to it being read to us and had racist thoughts or any thoughts about race or anything. You know what? Children shouldn't be thinking about this stuff. They shouldn't be thinking about what sex they prefer to be. They shouldn't be thinking about whether or not they're a whatever. It's ridiculous what is put on kids' minds to think about. Hey, how about letting them be kids? How about letting them focus on what the hell they can get away with doing? Right? Be kids. Let them focus on kid stuff. We wonder what's going on in our country. Well, nobody's allowed to think for themselves. Nobody's allowed to make their own path. Everything gets chosen for them. And anybody that wants to step out of line to do their own thing gets chastised and crucified by the rest of society. It's absurd. We gotta let kids be kids. That includes not sitting there and making sure that we push an ultimate amount of wokeness into their lives so they never know who the hell they really are because they're too confused trying to figure out all the bullshit you put in their minds. I'm speaking to the education systems and the government's in charge of all of this stuff. Well, this sure in the hell isn't surprising. UK alcohol deaths hit a new record. I warned about this, and the reason why I put this out was because I wanted to give a reminder of something that I've talked about for quite some time. I don't bring it up often, but one of the things you want to watch for in economy is right before a massive, and I mean a huge, massive crash. It's been proven in history that you will see, first of all, you'll see a buildup of alcohol sales and entertainment sales, and we've undoubtedly seen that. Now, entertainment sales, from my understanding, has kind of waned off a little bit. And And I think it's pretty well taken a pretty big fall at this point. However, alcohol sales not so much. It's still pretty well up there. Well, history shows that the times that you really want to watch for is even when those alcohol sales drop. When those alcohol sales drop, that's when you know you're in deep. Because it's not because they quit drinking. It's because they can no longer afford it. And you have to understand the psychology of this. That the buildup of alcohol abuse it's constant as the country goes through more and more turmoil. And it just builds up and it gets worse and it gets worse. But watch for when those sales drop. Because that's when things are truly bad. So again, that's what history shows. I don't have any reason to believe that it's going to be any different this time around. I have another couple of sips here and we'll do some headlines. Holy crap. It's almost 9 o'clock already. I'm telling you, there's a lot going on. I've got a lot on my mind just wading through it all, you know. Definitely get those loose ends sewn up. Anything you can with prepping, get sewn up. Make sure you get on it. Heard a interesting noise earlier here. I don't know what it was. If it was a plane, it had to have been a plane like an F-18, full afterburner straight up into the sky. Whatever it was, I believe went straight up. And it was loud. And one of the reasons why I said I believe it went straight up is because I heard it for quite a long time. So, a lot longer than it would have been if it was flying over. Just flying over. So, I don't know. It could have been an F-18 doing a vertical climb. It's not impossible by any means in this area. But it's not something real common. But it kind of sounded like a rocket at the same time, you know. The one thing I can say that put me off from thinking it was an F-18 is because you can typically tell that it's a twin-engine jet. And this only sounded like one engine, but it was mean. It sounded like a rocket engine. I couldn't see nothing because it's cloud cover, overcast. So, heard that earlier. I thought that was interesting. It was loud. So again, possibility it could have been just an F-18 going vertical, but... And if that's the case, I wished it were me, because that's fun to do in the simulator. Let's see. Fun times. Alright, let me get this moved over here. One more quick sip for good luck. I don't know, I don't need luck for reading the headlines, but, you know, good excuse. I think I need to bump the actual wattage of this thing up a little bit. I've got it on 60. I ought to probably put it on 80. Alright. You guys might want to see. Alright. Starting this morning, Elon Musk slams insane U.S. government spending. Well, welcome to the club. Trump predicts outcome of Putin-Biden encounter. Russia completes closure of secretive whale jail. White House reveals what Biden wants to discuss with Putin. Russia says no to lease of disputed islands. I'm going to try to remember not to repeat headlines like that one and that one. Let's see. That's just like an opinion thing. Covered that one. Germany's new government coalition deal finally signed. UAE to shorten the 5-day working week. So they are fighting for workers' rights and we're fighting to remove them. First papal visit to Russia in the pipeline, says a report. Now, you know, there's a theory that goes around pretty much that every time the Pope visits a country, everything goes to hell in that country. So, I'm just saying. Russian Olympic Committee responds to U.S. boycott of Beijing Winter Games. Fed bigger threat to stock markets than Omicron, says Morgan Stanley. I would have to agree for a change with Morgan Stanley. 5 more European tourist hotspots now on COVID stop list. Dozens of ICU medics test positive for COVID-19 after a Christmas party. CIA director claims Russia turned his hair gray. I'm just reading the headline. The U.S. is a cancer of the earth. Olympic icon hails holiday for world after Beijing boycott. That's his view on it, that he's happy that the United States isn't going to be here. And obviously that was a quote from him. Ukraine asked for weapons meant... Oh, covered that one, sorry. Sudden toad invasion threatens humans and pets. It's happening in Taiwan. Pope likens EU to Nazis over the word Christmas. Right. You need to do something with your sex abuse issue there, Chief. Bryant widow sick knowing that helicopter crash photos were shared by LA County officials. What do you expect? I mean, people keep looking up to all these individuals in roles of quote-unquote authority, and they're people. And in more and more cases, they're dishonest people. It is what it is. It's what we allow. I mean, if we would stop allowing it, it wouldn't be that way. But we allow it. A Tesla probed over fire-prone solar panels. Whistleblower accuses UK of manipulation to save face during Afghan pullback. Raab is proud of Kabul evacuations and blames the chaos on the U.S. Covered that. Well, no, this was the earlier report on that. 2 killed in shooting at Moscow government building. That was what I was talking about earlier, the guy that was upset about masks. Musk tells why civilization is going to crumble. Kremlin outlines expectations for Putin-Biden summit. Pentagon, I did the report on this earlier. Pentagon to tell commercial firms how to tailor products for military use. Very concerning. ECHR rules on Poland refugee pushbacks. EU health agencies advise on how to achieve good levels of antibodies. Staggering travel decline spoils World Aviation Day. Professor investigated for criticizing pathetic students. U.S. explains position on NATO expansion. I did an article or a report on this. Los Angeles has turned into the purge, a detective warns. Russia set to limit Europe's resilience on Gazprom's energy supplies. Or reliance, I said resilience, I'm sorry. First images released from crucial Putin-Biden summit. Covered that. Russia's top banker slams Zuckerberg's metaverse as unrealistic. Covered that. Kremlin comments on U.S. role in Ukraine peace talks. Covered that one. Amazon was down for thousands worldwide. Well, that is Amazon's web services. There was a number of websites and apps that were down. Questions raised over reports White House briefing newsrooms to reshape economic coverage. I did a video on that earlier too. It's mind-blowing. I mean, they're just right out there in the open about it. Vaccine side effects might actually be COVID, a study warns. Putin and Biden wrap up video meeting after 2 hours of talks. Did a video on this. Judge blocks Biden vaccine mandate for federal contractors. Saudi royal guard arrested in France over grisly murder, says reports. Former senior White House official no longer cooperating with January 6th committee. That would be Mark Meadows. New rules threaten huge fines for U.S. football teams who do not shortlist non-white job applicants. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Covered that. Anti-Russian measures stripped from Pentagon bill. Russia reveals what Putin asked of Biden. Visit a shop, get tested, intense COVID advisory says. A British defense chief names UK's top 4 nemesis. Let's see. U.S. comments on Russia's Ukraine invasion. Americans unwilling to change behavior over Omicron, says a poll. I did a video on this one. The man that claimed he wanted to kill students at Festus High School in Missouri. What was it? Was it in honor? Or in the name of, I guess. Let me see. Yeah, in the name of Kyle Rittenhouse. Absolutely mind-blowing. 5 key takeaways from Putin-Biden online summit. Other participants of Putin-Biden meeting was revealed. Supposedly, Putin only had one other person that was not even in the same room. I guess they were off in another room, and that was his translator. And Biden had a whole team of people in front of him. So, whatever. Trump reacts to Putin-Biden talks. Let's see. We covered that one. First case of Omicron variant detected in Illinois. So, right here. Not down by us. We're in the real Illinois. This was up by Chicago. The, whatever the hell that thing is up there. But anyway, as it says here, I'm gonna just read the article. It's real short, but there's some interesting information contained in it. The first case of Omicron variant has been detected in Illinois. Well, one of the observations is they don't know how to speak. Health officials said Tuesday. Health officials say the person who contracted the virus lives in Chicago and is fully vaccinated, including a booster dose. That person is isolating and did not require hospitalization. The Illinois resident who contracted the variant is a known contact of someone from another state who also became infected with the Omicron variant. The first Omicron case in Missouri was confirmed over the weekend. So, I mean, just face it, it's going to be everywhere, but so far, it would seem that it's not going to be as bad. Let's hope that's what it shapes out. Let's see. Australia joins U.S. diplomatic boycott of Beijing Olympics. I was telling you about that. Racist statue handed to Black Museum for destruction. Let's see. Human brain chip pending FDA approval, Musk says. How do you like that idea? And I covered that. So that's it. That is the heady lines. Fun times. Okay, hang on here. Oh no, I don't know for sure actually what you're asking, Laura. We worship at home, so we don't go to a church per se like every Sunday we celebrate Shabbat on Saturday. So actually from sundown Friday night to sundown Saturday night. So, but yeah, we worship at home. We don't actually have like a church, an organized religion type of church or anything. So, But anyway, trying to think if there's any more to add from the day. There was so much news and information that I took in. It was unbelievable. Nothing standing out. Just like I say, you try to sew up those. Oh, awesome. Shalom, certainly. So yeah, just try to tie up those loose ends. Go through, look at your preps, try to find things that you may have neglected or things that you haven't even started on, and try to work on it as quick as you can, because there is a whole lot. Keep that situational awareness up too when you go out and about, because things are getting stupid, and I don't think that we're all looking at an instant wild west out there or anything like that, but you never know when who is gonna do something stupid. So just kind of pay a little bit more of attention. Like I say, make sure you go through, find any holes in your preps, take care of them, try to strengthen up other areas if you've got everything pretty well squared away, and just do what you can. I don't think we got a long time before things get ugly, and I think the biggest threat, you get a lot of people that talk about this, that, and the other thing. The biggest threat in most all of this is the loss of the supply chain. And there are multiple things at this point that will definitely cause the loss of that supply chain. And I didn't even talk tonight about this whole DEF thing. There's plenty of channels, plenty of people talking about DEF, this additive that diesel trucks use. And a shortage... Sorry about that. A shortage of this would lead to a stoppage of trucks and the flow of goods and services, well, flow of goods certainly. And that's just one thing that could destroy that supply chain. Another thing, conflict. If conflict breaks out, I think the supply chain's done. We get a lot of our products from China. And if we're in conflict with Russia, I don't know that China's going to be doing trade with us any longer. So that's yet another thing that directly affects the supply chain. The reason why I'm focusing on the supply chain above all is that that's the one thing that's going to set the American people over the edge. When people can't put food on the table for their families, when people's lives are turned upside down and they're literally shoved into survival mode, things are going to get ugly quick. And all it takes is any one of those things to take out that supply chain. And there are so many different things right now that are affecting it. So just keep that in mind, For things to get stupid, we don't have to have a super major event. I mean, just think about it. Running out of this DEF stuff wouldn't be, it's not war, it's not global war, it's just running out of an additive. But yet it's enough that could set off a series of cascading events that could cause all-out chaos in our nation. That's why I'm so insistent on being ready. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to put us in a position to where it's survival. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. We will be back tomorrow, God willing. And we'll do it all over again. I think tomorrow's going to be a busy news day. I think Friday's going to be an extremely busy news day. So we'll see how it pans out. Anyway, I hope you all have a good night. Hope to see you tomorrow. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.